fans, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I am actually joined by my awesome co host, Lori Alexander. Lori, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing today, my friend?
Ah, I am doing fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
I have kind of a
Yeah.
weird episode planned for us. It's definitely going to be one of the more jam packed ones.
Oh, good. Good. We like jam packed ones. We like getting that information out there. And this is actually a great topic. Something that's been weighing on my mind for the last few days.
Well, apparently, we end up having that kind of trend. We just kind of end up
We do.
syncing up with each other.
We do.
It's been a while since you've been on Factions of Freedom. I've definitely been on Three
Yeah.
Minutes Midnight a lot more times than you've been over here.
Well, we're going to help each other build a network up, and like I said, that network we were talking about a few months ago is actually going to come to fruition, and I'm pulling you over with us, whether you like it or not, my friend.
I'm catching up. I'm catching up. Don't worry.
Nice, nice.
So,
So,
I guess with that being said, let's kind of jump into it. I've titled this one the transhuman reality because we're going to be looking at a number of things that illustrate we are living in either the quickening, the paradigm shifts, whatever you want to call it. We are living in that time frame to where so many different aspects of humanity is being tested. So many different things that we were once comfortable with,
mhm.
they've radically shifted. They've radically changed. You see,
Yeah, and it's being called a number of things depending on what religious sect uh, you associate with, or you think that you belong with. The New Agers call it the Enlightenment. The age of enlightenment. The Christians call it, possibly the tribulation, or the Jacob's troubles, if you will, or but it's each religious sect has a specific name for what I believe we're going through right now in these times.
I definitely think that's, if anything, that's key. That's more affirmation of actually what's going on in the times. I mean, the fact that it's been prophesied that this time period would come, that other civilizations have been able to acknowledge, this particular time frame at which we're at, and I feel like that's emblematic of the shift, because even, whether or not you want to look at it, from a Christian perspective, from a New Age perspective, a Hindu perspective, or even, you know, whatever religious denomination you end up choosing, we can see this time frame being something of immense importance. And I think, with either the advent of the technology, with all the different things that we're having as far as like the development of sciences, or even of the human experiment, the
Right.
experiment or experience, these things are perfect of what's going on.
Right, and you can't ignore the fact that each civilization, even though they're so distant and so far apart geographically, you can't help but look at the similarities in their prophecies, and they all seem to be on the same roadway, the same pathway, and it all leads to, like I said, whatever sect you belong to, it's called something different, but it all has the same feel. It all has the same events that are in
Right.
that time frame that it appears to be that we're in.
Right. And that's exactly what I want to focus on in this time frame, or with this video, with this episode, is this particular time frame that we're in. Either the Anthropocene, the transitioning period from coming out of
Mm-hmm.
age of Pisces into Aquarius. I want to look at stuff like that, like the geoengineering, how that's affecting things such as the Schumann resonance, and how we're also talking about, dimension slips, time slips, things such as the Mandela effect,
Right,
and how all of
right.
these different, I really wouldn't even call them outstanding events, all of these coinciding events, how they're evidence and, lead to the broader picture that we're in this transitional time period.
right? Each one of these events you can look at individually, and you can pretty much explain away or ignore them completely. But when you look at them together in one, like one unit, that you can't help but ignore something. Something's amiss, my friend.
Hmm. I definitely agree. One of the one of the things I think a lot of people end up we all end up saying, wake up to each other,
Mm-hmm.
or gosh, I wish these people would just wake up and see. Gosh, I wish people would just wake up from their slumber. The whole thing of you have to be asleep to believe in the American dream. I feel like what we're experiencing right now is a massive awakening on so many different
Mm-hmm.
fronts, and it is causing clearly instability, because a lot of people are angry. A lot of people don't know. They don't know how deep all of this stuff goes, and all the other things that are going on. So while we're experiencing, a fantastic time of change, really, and that's what I really try to like illustrate with a lot of different things. While we're experiencing a fantastic time of change, it's being misdirected, or it's being co-opted. It's being orchestrated, so to speak.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, um, we live in a matrix. We live in a predestined, predetermined, pre prepackaged, you might say, matrix right now. With the man behind the curtain pulling the strings, leading the this entire chess game of the reality that we live in. But it's those of us that quote unquote are awakening or awake or pretty much on to their game, you might say, we can take that step back and look at things in a different reality than what's being portrayed to us. I mean, a lot of that has to do, I think, this is just my opinion, but I think a lot of it has to do with our faith and our belief. And, we're told these things would come to pass in the Bible, and we're seeing them before our eyes. So we kind of have kind of kind of a different way of looking at things, I guess you might say.
I agree, and that's kind
I
of
don't
one of the
know.
angles I want to come at. The idea that transhumanism is occultly inspired, and I'll kind of get into why I think that, later on in the actual episode. The idea that through technology, they feel like they'll become gods, and how it
Yeah.
being occult inspired, some of the same technology or the same kind of mindset that was basically adopted by the Nazis. The occult,
Hmm.
Third Reich, and how they're trying to continue the Fourth Reich on the ashes of America. So I'll get into that later, and I'm glad
Yeah,
that you.
that's actually it's a good topic to tie everything together because yes, I mean the Nazis weren't just a political party; they were actually
Mm-hmm.
more of a religious party also, because they depended on the occult for everything. They
Mm-hmm.
did nothing. They did nothing in their lives or as a military organization. They did nothing without occult guidance.
Mm-hmm. The Thule Society, them talking about Vril,
The
some
Virils,
some of the
right?
advanced technology that they had with UFOs and things like that. Uh,
Right. Them trying to find the Aryan
mm-hmm.
race, thinking that they sent teams of explorers out to find this lost Atlantis, this Aryan race. A lot of people think that's how they ended up on Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I don't know if anybody out there remembers the movie Hellboy.
Yes, I do.
But the first 10 minutes of Hellboy is probably the most truth you're ever going to see in your life. When they opened up that dimension with that machine,
Mm-hmm.
do you remember that part when
Mm-hmm.
Hellboy came through? That I'm sorry, but that those 10 minutes, that first 10 minutes of that movie are completely and totally more realistic on on that kind of level than any other movie I've seen having to do pertaining with the occult level of the Nazis.
Well, I mean,
They did have the technology.
they did have the technology, and that's actually one of the things I wanted to get into later on too how the Germans won World War II. Steve Quayle's whole book of Empire Beneath the Ice, and all of that. So
Yeah, they won.
we'll
Yeah, they won. They won and they took. Here's the thing: is a lot of people don't even realize they won and they took over America.
Project Paperclip.
We may not be speaking German, but I mean, they're the head of NASA, they're head of CIA, they're the end of, they're the head of all of our national ABC groups.
Mm-hmm.
They came over with Project Paperclip and they essentially took over the United States,
Mm-hmm. And that's a
continuing their research, continuing their human
experimentation.
experimentation. Mm-hmm.
It's eugenics. Project Paperclip. Well, we got the
Right,
scientists. The Russians, they got the equipment, and that's exactly
right.
what's basically happening right now. Is we're seeing the resurgence of the Fourth Reich. Of the Third Reich. We're seeing the Nazis come back in transhumanism. So
Yeah.
what? So I'm glad that we got the idea, or I'm glad that we put a staple in the idea that we understand where we're at these days with
Mm-hmm.
technology, with society, and how it has basically been, refurbished over the Nazi ideology. And one of the things that I said before, eugenics, them trying to basically find the master race, them trying to create the master race, uh, like I said, the technology being occult inspired, or versus things that are happening in a divinely appointed time frame, like in your mindset, or to use your word, I definitely like how you said, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in divine appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, like we were saying at the start of the episode, there are certain times that man comes to certain parts of awakening.
Yep.
And I feel like what's happening right now, because we're at this specific time frame, and as I said before, it being uh, kind of co-opted, orchestrated our natural awakening, our natural growth. What they're doing instead, because of the time frame that we're at, they're using, and we've talked. Ironically enough, we've talked about this before. Lori, techno sorcery. They're using this technology to kind of subvent the actual growth that we have. They're they're they're
Absolutely.
they're using this kind of technology, like you said before, with CERN, them opening up portals, and even the transhumanist aspect, because of like I said before, the time frame that we're in, they're using all of this to basically, I guess, take over to establish their
Mhm.
new reality, the new world order, and
Exactly. And the technology plays such a huge part into it. I mean, you look at it every single day. I'm seeing reports coming, more and more reports on how they're integrating technology and machinery uh, into our flesh. I mean, we're able to, Google's got their Google glasses. They're going to take it one step further, and they're going to implant things into our bodies where we can turn our lights on and off, interact with our computers,
yes,
even drive our cars. So they're definitely integrating, and we've been told this in the Bible. In the book of Daniel, we're told that the iron would meld with the clay in the final empire, and we are in that time period. We have arrived, people. We have arrived in the times of Daniel.
there's actually. I'm glad you said that. The fact that we're talking implants, because I have broken down in my mindset uh, three different branches of what I would consider modern day transhumanism, and they are genetic modification, which is things like CRISPR-Cas9, gene drives, uh, ectogenesis, biohackers, and things like that. Augmentation, prosthetics, prosthesis, where we're talking implants, bionics,
Mm-hmm.
basically
Right.
being able to replace the individual, and then clearly cloning, and that's why at the in the description of
Right.
this, I already said cloning is real. We're operating on the basis that technology, synthetic biology, however you want to look at it, that is already here. Um,
It is. It is here. It's been here for a while. They've already perfected it. We see it every single day, and we don't
mm-hmm.
even realize these people. It's like the movie They Live. They are living among us, and they've come so far in their technology that you can't even notice them.
Mm-hmm. And I know that there's some people out there that are going to say, "Oh, what are these guys talking about? This is crazy." I'm definitely not here to convince those type of people. I guess this
Right.
is kind of like an advanced episode because we're moving past that, and we understand that there are, as I have up here on the screen, cloned human animal hybrid embryos, and they've been in effect at least
Right.
since the early 2000s. So what I'm basically trying to get at by by identifying these different categories of transhumanism is to show people the idea that, like the title says, we're living in a transhuman reality. While we're discussing all these different types of things, and we're trying to basically understand what it means to be human and how we're being portrayed as humans,
Hmm.
we also need to understand, like I said, before, the time frame that we're in, and what these people are basically doing. And I'm basically
Absolutely.
to I guess to kind of springboard with this technology and on the concept of the depopulation campaign and the dehumanization campaign, because those work in those are synonymous with transhumanism. You know,
Hmm.
just the other day in, what was it? I think Australia. Yeah, some lady had gotten she had chipped herself and she made it a super trendy, super popular thing. Right? She did a video and made it a whole big deal. Right? That's how they're going to pitch a lot of this information to you, or that's how they're going to pitch a lot of this movement to people as it being something convenient, trendy, hassle free, and
Hmm.
and all the rage basically. And
Right. They're going to make us want what they have.
hmm and I mean, unfortunately, we can see different parts of this already. Right there, boom. BuzzFeed normalizes human microchips in disturbing propaganda video. Yeah. Unfortunately, we can see evidence of this already, in other video games and movies, and things like that. But as far as augmentations in that degree to where people are, microchipped, I mean, that's a story where they're talking about basically the cashless society, the mark of the beast, and living inside of the beast system to another degree. And I'll talk about that as well because that aligns itself along the lines of transhumanism, of the technocracy, and of the new world order. But to kind of backtrack a little bit, because I always got ahead of myself. I have a lot of notes here, and I'm
Right.
and I'm trying to compile it. um,
I'm just co-pilot today. This is you, Ed.
oh, and it's so good to have you here, Lori. It really is.
It's great to be here. I love our conversations with each other. They're so relaxed, and they're just. I mean, I do. I'm very relaxed when I'm in your house. I thank you for inviting me in.
Oh, you're always welcome, Lori.
Oh, I know that. It's ditto, my friend. Ditto. Yeah, but yeah, it's always more relaxing over here, over at your house. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's always dinner's always better when somebody else cooks it.
Oh, dear Lori, I'll cook for you all the time. You know I love tacos.
Tacos. I was just gonna say tacos.
It's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. It's Tequila Tuesday and Taco Tuesday. We are in it, guys. Come on.
After the show, we'll have a little, post party meetup.
Postcard. Yeah, tacos and tequila, everybody. Woo!
Okay. Um. Thank you. This is why we have Lori on the show, guys. Is because she is an awesome co-host. You see how she just brightened up the mood and the intensity of the whole show.
I just, oh, well, okay. Well, okay. And I know you guys got me blushing, but okay.
Okay. To get back to point,
Yes.
to all of these notes, because I definitely want to get into post World War II with you and the Nazis,
Yeah.
but I got a format, and I'm gonna jump right back into it. So
Yep. One at a time.
on the mindset of microchips, and we've talked about this before, how ELF towers, Gwyn towers, radio towers, and things like that, how they emit certain frequencies that can alter our DNA ultimately, um, and microchipping in particular, how that can mess with your DNA is because of the radiation that you're basically putting into your body. You're making yourself a receiver and a transmitter of microwave signals that are being controlled by some outside force, by some external stimuli. So while you can have while you can have microchips altering your DNA, and this is where it gets into the deeper parts of it, we have to look at things like vaccines. Recently, the other day, we found out what how how Monsanto's glyphosate Roundup was a was an actual ingredient in some vaccines. So we have Monsanto's Roundup in vaccines,
Mm-hmm.
formaldehyde, thermosol, all kinds of different things in these vaccines, and they can alter our DNA as well, our body chemistry, how our biology works, how stuff bioaccumulates on our body, things like that. And they're passing these things out like candy. I mean, I was at Walgreens just the other day, and apparently I can get a discounted version of a. Apparently I can get a
Right.
discount vaccine for being a member. So if that's how that works, clearly they're trying to commercialize what I would consider the depopulation campaign.
Right. Well, not only that, but we also, I mean, vaccines have really no purpose. I mean, and I run my anti-vaccine page. I get trolls coming on there all the time. But here's the thing: is we're born with natural antibodies. What is depleting our immune system is you know GMOs and our water supply and what they're spraying on us and all of that. And you have to take a look at what's in the vaccines. I mean, one of the main ingredients is glyphosate.
Glyphosate, glyphosate, yep.
Yeah, which is a prime ingredient of what? Roundup.
Mm-hmm. So we have Monsanto, pesticides, herbicides, and vaccines that they're trying to hand out to children. I mean, just I have an article from like for not forever, but earlier this month, um, not this month, earlier this year, sorry, where a 13-year-old girl died from an HPV vaccine. To where children are now having HPV vaccines tested on them as well,
Mhm.
and
There's no reason for the HPV vaccine.
there's
I went over this the other day on one of the shows that we did. There's absolutely no reason for it. The human papilloma virus is preventable. It's just like any other sexually transmitted disease. You do not need a vaccine for it at all.
that's
You know, it's
I saw it
mm,
just the other day in Uganda that this lady was privately getting sterilized. Like she was coming in for regular injections, and apparently she didn't know, but she was getting subtly sterilized.
wow. Yeah, I mean, and we're seeing that a lot when it comes to uh, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I mean, they're putting these. I mean, if you look at their foundation, I mean, they support eugenics. So when they're the ones passing out the vaccine to these third world countries, you got to take a look at it. Here we have vaccines that are being passed out that are paralyzing people, children in India. The birth rates going down in some of these countries. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing when it comes to it, but you know what? I think it should be up to the people and education and not up to some multi-billion-dollar corporation that's got nothing but depopulation on their mind.
See, I think that's even crazy right there. That with things like SB 277, SB 279, these mandatory vaccines for children in California, I feel like that's nuts itself right there. The fact that you can be denied an education, but then again, who wants a public school education these days? You could be denied an education in California simply for not having your up to date vaccine shots. And a whole nother topic that branches off of that is the idea that the CDC now has powers to detain you if, say, for some strange reason, they find out that you're not up to date on your shots, or that you've been going to the doctors irregularly, or for any kind of reason. The CDC now has a reason to detain you if you're sick. So the whole And don't even. Ooh, I will come back to Bill Gates. I will come back to Bill Gates. I have like a villainous hatred towards that man on so many different levels. Maybe it's because we're in New Mexico. He comes from Albuquerque. I understand that, but man, let me come back to Bill Gates. Ooh. So yeah, with the whole vaccine controversy, even Robert De Niro has come out with his movie Vaxxed, and it's already caught heat because of like how true it is. So we'll come back to vaccines, altering our DNA and our biology. But then when you also look at things like the chemtrails, NASA has come out, the CIA has come out, and I think no, the CDC didn't come out. No, it was just NASA and the CIA had come out, both admitting how geoengineering and cloud was it cloud seeding? Yeah, geoengineering and cloud seeding, chemtrails, basically how they're affecting and altering our DNA and killing us. Subsequently, because there's some people that really can't handle that much toxicity in their blood or in their veins. I mean, I put up just the other day a video from Lancaster University where
Mhm.
they were saying how they were finding metal particulates in in um in people's brains because of the toxic air pollution, because of how nasty things are. They're literally able to things are bioaccumulating in people's brains and creating these crystals that shouldn't be there. Uh, and that's a whole nother aspect as well. The idea that through these types of subtle depopulation actions or campaigns or missions, these people are subtly changing our vibration, changing how we
Right.
interact with the universe and our signals that we're putting out. And if it's not,
Absolutely. And CERN has a lot to do with that too, EJ,
oh, did
because they're messing with the frequencies. They're pulling the electromagnetic field that protects the Earth. They're pulling from that. That's how they power CERN, is through that.
is by
And I firmly believe that they are draining the energy from each and every person on this earth right now in some sort of way. When they draw that energy out of the atmosphere, they're also drawing it out of us.
well, I think we've talked about this too as well. How with CERN, the whole idea that they're punching holes into, obviously, we get it, they're punching holes into the universe, but
Oh yeah,
this is clearly affecting our what I would consider our multidimensional orientation. How we interact with the universe as a whole. No, maybe.
I think you're right. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
that
100% right.
well, that was actually one of my notes later on as well, to explain the time that we're in, the Gotthard Tunnel ritual, and how I had even done a video on 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 the idea that we're living in a time frame where the realms have been
Mhm.
bridged together, where because of things like the Gotthard Tunnel
Right. I
ritual.
mean, they're bringing forth everything that we talked about at the top of the show. They're bringing everything forth, for a purpose. It's for going into that age of Aquarius, that
Mm,
age of enlightenment, that next awakening, quote unquote. If you guys, I don't know, don't get me wrong. I'm not promoting these people. I'm not saying to go follow them. I'm not even saying to go listen to what they have to say, but as a researcher, I have to look at all aspects of the information out there. And I know that there's a group of people right now, known as the Galactic Federation, that is pushing for this age of enlightenment, saying that the ascended masters are returning to carry us into this next age, the age of Aquarius. Scary.
you know, that was definitely something I wanted to get into as well. The New Age movement, and that's why at the start of the show, I wanted to throw out all those different terms from the time frame that we're in, because whether or not, and this is kind of where I guess it gets tricky. Like you said, being a researcher, you have to understand a lot of different forms of information
Yeah.
And you have to break it down, and
Hmm.
you can't really just throw stuff out because some of it's too outlandish. You have to
Oh.
look at some of the stuff that the New Agers are saying, that the ufologists are saying, that abductees are saying, that paranormal hunters are saying. You have to look at it and realize that, look, if all
Yeah.
of this stuff is still exploding, even at like growing at an exponential rate,
Right.
there has to be some truth to this. There has to be some kind of like legitimacy as to why more of these
Right.
things
You
are
have,
occurring.
and it's right. And as researchers, we have to take a look at that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I get blasted all the time saying, why did you, because I've researched so many, I've been a part of so many different religions, born and raised Catholic, went to be a Mormon, studied Wicca, studied, LaVey, Satanism, studied Crowley, Satanism. I've gone into the whole reading the Quran, reading the Talmud,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the thing is I need to have a greater understanding so that when I come across people, I can, try to give them the information that they need at that point in their journey. And I
Exactly.
can't do that if I just limit myself as being a Christian to just the Bible, or just, just limiting myself to one of the big things I get all the time is if I share a post or something from it, people say, well, that's not a Christian page.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we relied on just Christian pages for our information, people, we would be stuck on stupid in some cases.
It's
Hate to say it, but it's the truth.
it is the unfortunate truth, and
It is.
I hate whenever people, not necessarily hate, and this is kind of like whenever we're talking about this whole new age, this whole burst of information. It's because we feel like we're so stuck in our old ways that we can't digest this new information and use it the way that it needs to be. I mean, if people want to look at, if Christians want to look at, the New Age movement as something demonically inspired, well, sure, do look at it that way if you have to. But either way, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to have to engage it. You can't just ignore it
Right.
simply because the information doesn't jive with your religion. You
Right.
have to interact with it accordingly. And
Exactly. It's no different. Like, say, if I was getting ready to go to work in the morning and I go outside, I walk outside, and there is a car blocking my driveway and I can't get out. Just because that is an inconvenience to me, just because I don't feel like handling that situation or dealing with that problem at that time, doesn't mean that I can just drive my car right through it and ignore it. I have to deal with that situation. I have to look at that before I can travel on to the next.
exactly, exactly. And another, all right, we're oh, we're gonna we're spiraling as always. I love it though. Um,
Get the
I'm
rope.
grabbing it. I'm grabbing it. This is good though, because people definitely need to understand. Even with the new age movement, all of that information is still stuff that is relevant to what is going
Yep.
on right now.
Yes.
Simply because it is not directly affecting you does not mean that it is not indirectly affecting you and indirecting
Exactly.
those around you.
And that is why we mentioned about the Nazis in paperclip, and their Gnostic and their occultic ways. That is something that it affects. It may not have, you may not have been alive during World War II. You may not even know what we're talking about. But I'm telling you guys that what they did back in World War II, what the Nazis did on the occult level, what they did on the Gnostic level, what they did on the satanic level, affects each and every one of us still to this day.
Boom. And I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use that as a point to jump in because I'm looking right here at my notes where I'm looking at the Eisenhower Gray Treaty of 1954, right? With the idea of living in a post World War II mind frame, okay? And I didn't really set this up the way that I had intended, but I'm gonna try to make a crazy leap right here. I mean, Aleister Crowley titled his demon. What was it? What did he call his demon?
Good question. Oh, you're making me go back to lots of research. Hold a second. Crowley.
I know it's a simple question. We should all know it. I'm sure.
I, I'm sure I do. Hold on a second. Chronism.
Cronism. Okay.
Chronism.
Whenever he came into contact with his demon, He at that time knew that, yeah, we call them demons at this time, but they'll call them another name. They'll call them another
Well,
force along the
right,
lines, right? And then we hear we hear the term fallen angels. This is from biblical accounts. That's one of the reasons why I wanted you here, so we could talk about that aspect of it as well. And before that, before fallen angels, before demons, they just called them spirits. These days we call them aliens or interdimensional beings, right?
right, which is what they are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we yeah. Which can I just bring something into up to the forefront? Is I don't know, but I always when I looked at Crowley's demon, first off, it looks just like a gray.
Yes.
It looks just like a gray alien. Second off, if you know the history behind Crowley, which this is very interesting, guys, go ahead and research it because I don't know if you're going to go into it. If not, I don't want to take you off course. But if you research Jack Parsons, uh,
Oh, yes.
J. L. Ron Hubbard, and Aleister Crowley, all three of those men did some sort of black magic ritual on Area 51, and this is where this demon came through. And it just seems odd that this demon came through on an area that's what devoted to what is it? Aliens.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's weird, and I did a video on this as well. Aleister Crowley and the Bush family,
Yep.
they're related.
Oh, the other yes. Aleister Crowley, yeah. There's I don't know, speculation you might say out there, but I mean, if aside from a DNA test, we'll never know. But if you
True.
look at the picture of Aleister Crowley along with Barbara Bush, I'm sorry, but that truly looks like they're related in some sort of way, just like German president. What is her? Oh, I can't think of her name. Just went out of my head. Angela Merkel looks
Oh,
like
yep. Like Hitler.
like Hitler.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
I'm glad you said that right there. Pistol Annie. So many demons in the Bible. Think you all think so many demons in the Bible. You think they all just suddenly poofed away? No, they're still
right.
around, messing with people, and that's
Yep,
right. As I try to lead into this with, they go
yep,
underneath a different name. They go underneath a
right.
different alias, and they are interacting either with generational legacies, or generational spirits, generational curses, generational people that have been passed down. Like we always hear, the elite say the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati. And this is where I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say you should check out your series where you go into depth about the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, because they understand it's in the blood. These people have already given themselves over.
Yeah, this is generational. These 13 family bloodlines from Astor straight up to the rest of them, Disney included, Mercovinian included in those 13. So there's actually 15. There's actually more than 13, but 15, 16 of them. They're all generational, which means that they can trace their bloodlines back to the time of Solomon's temple, or they could track it back down to the Babylonian times. And these are bloodlines that rule the world, not only on a physical, not only do they manipulate us on a physical plane, but they have the ability to manipulate this world on a spiritual plane because they do have direct lines of communication with the dark side.
Yes, and that is David Icke talks about that. Russ Dizdar talks about that. A number of people talk. They break it down. I mean, in what I would consider fantastic fashion. For a lot of people, maybe they should go back and look at Confessions of a Mother Goddess, and that's whenever was it Arizona Wilder that he interviewed David Icke?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was Arizona.
I don't know if I know who Arizona Wilder is supposedly the mother, the high priestess, the mother of that's who these children go before. When the children are born, they go before her, and they're either sacrificed or they're brought into the family and given special abilities. So yeah, Arizona Wilder used to be that mother goddess person entity that these people went before.
So to bring it back, or to go back a little bit more, back on the whole Eisenhower, Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, the establishment of NASA. At that time, what I would consider for all of that, the post World War II era, I would consider that the time frame to where they're starting the New World Order, or they're starting
Mhm.
their transitional period. They,
It's where they came out in the open with it more.
mm-hmm,
Before it was done behind closed doors. This is when they actually came out and started implementing on a real time, governmental basis. Before it was all behind the scenes. Now they have the ability and the money and the backing, to come forward and to. I think you're right. I think World War II was definitely a turning point as far as American or as far as world history and the end times.
yes, and I feel like we can see a lot of that happening. Like I said, or at least not happening, but we can see that kind of coming to a head or coming into fruition uh, right now. Either it's the collapse of America, while all these new technologies are coming out. Maybe it's the rise of globalism. Maybe it's just this angle that we're coming at with the human reality. But we can see all the different things that were kind of pre planned. Back in like the 40s, 50s, and the
Mm-hmm.
60s, coming into fruition now. And I feel like this would be a good point to jump into how the Germans won World War II, and Steve
Okay.
Carell's whole Empire Beneath the Ice.
Hmm. Empire Beneath the Ice. Funny you should say that. Have you ever seen the trailer for Iron Sky 2?
Um, I think no, I've seen no, but I've seen the movie Iron Sky, the first one.
Maybe it is the first one. I think it's Iron Sky 2 though. You have seen Iron Sky. I've never seen that one. Was that about the Nazis?
It was about how they had escaped to the moon.
Okay.
I thought it was
Iron
actually pretty
Sky
good.
2. Iron Sky 2 is when they go into the Antarctic, underneath into the earth.
Well, see, that's the idea of a breakaway civilization. In so many different
Mm-hmm.
ways, that theory is so true. I mean,
Yeah.
either it's the secret government, or the elite. It is so true how oh God, I could do we could do an entire episode on that.
Yeah, we could do an entire episode on that. Absolutely, absolutely. But if you want to go back to the topic, transhumanism, I
Hmm.
think I think going back to the German experiments, human experiments at that time, I think we could see that this was truly, if not the birth of transhumanism, but it was a huge stepping point at that point. Um, when the Germans made contact with how do I put this? Extra worldly entities, aka demons, aka fallen angels, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter. They're still the same entities. When the Germans made contact with these entities, they were given access to technology that was far beyond our time, or far beyond. And if you look at the history of man and you look at the timeline, we have made huge advancements in technology and civilization since that point in time that can't really be explained.
Nope. No,
It was accelerated at that pivotal point in our history in time. Was right around this World War II when Hitler made contact, quote unquote, contact with these people or these entities.
and I feel like that's what a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't give that kind of credit to Hitler, to World War II, and how that put us in what I would consider, like I said, this transhuman reality, this time frame now, to where all the projects, they've literally gotten so numerous they can't keep it a secret anymore. You know, like
No, no, they can't keep it a secret. And with the invention of the internet, which I think was a double-edged sword for them, because excuse me, they were the ones that created the internet, and now that we're the ones that are utilizing it to bring forth, light on their plans. So I think it's a double. The whole internet thing's a double-edged sword for them. If they could have kept us in the dark, I think it would have gone a lot smoother than what it's going for them. But they needed the internet, and now we have access to it. So
And I feel like that
sorry about your luck, guys.
sucks to suck.
Sucks. Sucks. But no, I mean, seriously, I mean, I really think that they could have gone at least another 50 years in the dark or kept people in the dark had they not invented the internet.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why they say, they feel like they're 10 to 15 years behind. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to take partial credit for that. And I think every other truther person out there that puts out the truth and keeps on these guys, we are the ones that are. And I'm not saying me personally, but I'm saying us as a whole, as a conglomerate group, are keeping these guys on their toes, and they have to stay one step ahead of us because we are right. I mean, come on. These false flags that they're putting out there, EJ, we are on them like within minutes.
mm-hmm. So true.
Within minutes. So yeah, I mean, they need to, and all the information, this disinformation that they're putting out there is just damage control.
Well, I feel like
People like Alex Jones putting out disinfo and stuff like that, Mark Dice and others. That's just damage control on the part of the elite. They need to throw that monkey wrench in there because we're on their trail and they got to get away. They got to get another couple steps ahead of us. But we're good. We're getting better all the time.
I think I think I talked about that too whenever I was on. I think the Sentinels of Truth with you guys. It was whenever we were talking about Pete Santilli, but how this, being a perfect example, this time frame being a perfect example of how when they try to take one of us, this just automatically creates a response in all of us to step up our
Yeah.
efforts.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, you're right. I mean, you're right. They definitely throw things at us that they use to their advantage to manipulate the narrative. And like I said, there's those of us that try to maintain one step ahead of them and try to or maintain right on their heels. And we take flack for it. We get called many different you know many different names. We get many labels placed on us because we won't follow that narrative. But that's our jobs. That's what we do. We're watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
Watchmen don't conform. We're not watchmen are not followers. We're leaders.
Exactly, and it's followers who are blind, who are not going to see how they're being led into
Right.
the meat grinder.
Right, exactly. These are the people that are going to be standing in line, wanting and willing to pay hundreds of dollars to get, their brains wired with this technology that is just designed to keep us further enslaved.
So I think
It's
there's
going to be the downfall of us all. I mean, it's bad enough we all walk around look with our noses in our phones all day
mm-hmm.
or on the internet. But now to actually hardwire us into the matrix, we're supposed to be getting out of the matrix, guys. We're supposed to be waking up, not falling deeper and deeper and deeper sleep, and now actually jacking into that matrix. It's scary.
Well, that's why we have to use the technology and the time that we have, and I go on about this in depth in person, on the air, about how, look, we're living in this time frame to where this is probably the most free, society is going to get if we keep pushing for it, though. And that's the hidden thing. We have to keep pushing for a more free society, not the society that they're trying to huddle us into, the society that's going to be beneficial for people. I mean, they're trying to put restrictions on the internet. What's wrong with the internet? Like
Right.
there's so many different things that come with that, but it's because people don't break it down or even take the 2 seconds to really look at how they're being led or how they're being told to think a certain way. And it's this sheep mindset, this sheeple mindset, to where people can't break that trance that forces people like me and you and Robbie D and Ron Johnson, Alex Jones to some degree, if you guys want to even count that. It takes people who get fed up of being fed this garbage and wanting to actually know what's
Right.
going on to try to do some good. It takes that to happen.
Right. Exactly. You're spot on with that. Absolutely right.
So with that mindset, with the mindset that people are blindly being led into Walgreens or CVS or Walmart for vaccines or for GMO food, and then they're going outside to breathe the toxic laden air, or all of this stuff, like I said before, is part of the depopulation campaign and the dehumanization campaign. They want to get us to a point to where we feel so sick, so diseased, so disgusting, to where what we'll eventually end up doing is going to these people who have purposely poisoned us. We'll end up going to them to seek a cure, and this cure will
Right.
be more things like the vaccines, more things like the Gardasil shot, like the HPV shot, like all of these other dehumanization, depopulation to items.
Right. Yes, they are. They're, like I said, they're going to make it so we pretty much beg them for their technology. And I think that goes along with what I've been saying about FEMA camps is, they're going to want us. They're going to beg. They're going to have us beg them to put us in these FEMA camps for food, water, shelter, medications. Just some sort of normality in this world. So, I mean, it's all part of the plan. It's all prescripted. It's all according to this master plan that they've had in place for many, many, many decades,
So,
hundreds of years, many centuries.
so at the start of the show, I tried to talk about how we, because I definitely believe we are living in a multidimensional reality. We affect more than simply our senses that we see here in our three-dimensional world. We affect so many more things besides what we think, and it's because of that, because of that understanding that we can be more than simply just stardust trapped inside of a meat husk called a human, for about 70 years. It's the idea that we can do more and affect more than, than what we think, that we're being co-opted and that we're being coerced into this chaos. And I have right here three reasons as to why they're doing these types of things, and what it basically surmounts to is how they're trying to trap us here in this three-dimensional time frame, or this three-dimensional world, to where they can exact fear, they can exact
Mm-hmm.
worry, they can exact all of these negative emotions and keep us in this perpetual cycle. I mean, either
The
that's
Hegelian dialect. It's the Hegelian dialect. They create the problem, they evaluate, what type of reaction we have, and then they provide the solution.
hmm so right here. Why would they want to kill us and alter our DNA with microchips, vaccines, chemtrails, GMOs? One reason is because outside of our realm of perception, we are engaged in a war, a spiritual war, and entities are coming and going in our time frame right now. You know, all of the things that we're talking about right now, all of these things have already happened to some degree. So we're
Yep.
having these entities who know which side they are already on, because they've already either aligned themselves with righteousness, or with our adversary, the devil. They're coming and
Yep.
going, and we are actively engaged in the spiritual war. Uh, Two, at this point, we are seen as worker drones to another agenda and must be kept here, distracted. And I wrote that specifically saying distracted, because what happens whenever you take 5 minutes and you go out in the woods these days? What happens when you take a hike, or you disconnect from the matrix these days? It's because you have so much knowledge, so much awareness of all the other things that are going on. You really start to appreciate life. You appreciate what's happening. You appreciate
Yeah.
your existence and your reality in this time frame. You want to try to do good with the time frame that you have. If they can keep us here actively engaged with all of their distractions, the
Mm-hmm.
Xbox One, the PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
4, the Facebook, if they can keep us here distracted,
Mm-hmm.
our energy, our positive energy, our goodwill, our intention, all of
Changes
that,
our frequency.
exactly, it changes how we
Yep.
operate with the universe.
It does. And I'm going to be brutally honest with everybody. I'm truly and totally guilty about that. I have not taken a technology hiatus, sabbatical, whatever you want to call it, break in over a year. And when I did it last year, I lasted, and I'm telling you guys, I lasted. I lasted 6 days. That was it. That was as far as I could go, and I was going insane during that time. I'm just as guilty as the next person of being dependent on technology.
It was like, I think, what was it? Probably 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah,
Yeah, how long were you gone, sir?
yeah, right. I was out there in them woods, man, telling you, I'm like, God, do I need to do all this? Like,
Yeah,
and then I start asking myself, like, God, well, what else is there? And I don't want to be a jerk. Like, you really start having the questions, like, hey, man, is it worth it? Is it worth all the
yeah.
stress? Is it worth all the,
It is.
the critique?
It is. It is. It is because I think here's the thing: is EJ, if we can wake up or enlighten or educate just one person, we've made a difference in this world. Because that one person, if you think about the ripple effect, that one person then talks to one person who talks to one person who talks to one person. So us enlightening or educating or whatever you want to call it with that one person, we've affected a number of lives. It's worth it. It truly is.
Well, I mean, whenever I was on your show the last time, I was talking about how I got over that fear of just talking about these real issues in such a complex way. I got over that real quick. It's like I said, it gets to a point to where you're like, look, dude, like I know we can sit here and we can research all the information that people have
Yeah.
sacrificed their lives to get out to us, but if we're not doing anything with it, like if we're not putting the pictures together and making sense of what they're basically trying to tell us, we're not doing them justice. We're not helping advance the cause. We're not doing anything. We're just playing into the problem, and I'm not about that. I can't do
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
it's crazy because, like I said, you get over it, and then you realize your role in things, the people that you have around you, and
Right.
you really just start judging things in a better light. I feel like.
It's funny you say that because I think it was a Sunday night on Eric Spitfire of the Sentinels. I said to him, I said, I hold you personally responsible, Eric, for me not for me being not being able to shut my mouth because, I mean, I've done this a while. I've been doing this for a number of years, decades, researching for decades. Been on Facebook. As a page owner and putting out the truth since January, or actually February of 2014. Done a few videos on YouTube, not very many. I mean, I could count on one hand the number of videos I did, and I think three of those 5 videos, or 2 of those 5 videos, didn't even have sound. All they had was words up on the screen. I never even spoke until last December when I was brought onto the Spitfire and Sentinels team, and ever since then they haven't been able to shut me up.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, and you're getting, you're coming through, your journey too, and you're finding your voice. And once you find it, it's it. There's no going back. I'm telling you.
Well, it's like what's crazy. I'm gonna say this and then we're gonna jump back in. I
Okay.
What's crazy is all these different slides that people are seeing on the broadcast, um, because I break it down for audio and video. People that are
Yeah.
listening right now. Uh, you're basically seeing the replays of all the different slides, all the different videos,
Yep.
and the articles. I had to put those up. I had to wake up every morning or not go to sleep every night and find these individual articles and then just put them up. And I know that sounds super simple, but it's like whenever you
Yeah.
put everything together and you use your pieces of the puzzle and you make a
Hmm.
beautiful picture with it, you get things like this. You get conversation where you have me and Lori going back and forth explaining this in such depth, because we're seeing the same thing and interpreting it in different ways. That this is what people need.
Yeah.
They don't need to be told
Yeah.
garbage on whether or not we're still black or white. Last time I checked,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but here's the thing is if they've got a variety of places to come, whether it be Factions of Freedom page, whether it be exposing satanic world government or the Underground Resistance Network or whoever it may be out there, they're getting multiple sources pretty much telling them the same thing. And that's validation
Mm-hmm.
because I don't I have a lot of contact with people on a daily basis, probably more than I've liked because I've had to apologize to people in probably the last 3 weeks. It's gotten to the point where I can't even answer personal calls that people that call me because I can't just sit there and socialize. I have to I've got so many things on my plate right now,
Mm-hmm.
and so, so I have a lot of contact with a lot of big YouTube pages, a lot of people that, I talk with every day, getting them, to bring them on for guest appearances and stuff like that. So, I mean, the amount of knowledge and the amount of people that I'm in contact every single day would probably surprise a lot of people for just the small person that I am. But when you come and when you look at the whole picture, that all of these people are on the same page, all of these people are coming to the same conclusions that you have, or validating something that you thought about years ago, but just hadn't really, been able to vet or to come to an understanding of it. And all of a sudden, this starts just boom. This is what's happened in the past year, EJ. It's amazing the amount of validation that I'm personally getting in all of my research. So there's some sort of, I'm sorry, there's some sort of event happening. There's some sort of awakening. There's some sort of uh, movement happening in our subconscious level, I think, on a humanity basis.
I definitely agree. I mean, you can see it. Like I said, the evidence of it is every day. Whether it's the 31 different genders that they're allowing kids to have, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
microchipping yourself, or us finally starting to talk about Hillary Clinton's body double, or maybe even a clone, or whatever you want to look at. Like, this is it. This is that. The future is now. All those things that we
Yeah.
kind of thought were crazy, all those things that we didn't know, where we're starting to know them.
It's funny that we sit here and we're cold conspiracy theorists, and you got your tinfoil hat, which my hat, by the way, I do have a tinfoil hat, but it's a fedora because I personally believe that crazy does not have to be tacky. Just want to say that. I say that all the time. It's true. I do have a tinfoil fedora, but uh, you know here's the thing: is all of these conspiracy theories that we've been putting out there in the last 6 months. I want to let you guys know that the mainstream media is picking up on it. Mainstream media, CNN last night actually talked about Hillary's double.
Well, I think it's what's like you said, all the validation that is coming right now, the affirmation, and the information, everything that is coming out right now should, if anything, give us credibility. It should let it should let people know that we're hot on the tail of what's actually going on, the cutting edge. But they're trying to use this time to deceive us. Like I said, they're trying to co-opt our natural growth.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, they're trying to stifle the growth. They're trying. That's why they put that disinformation out there.
so on the idea, because I think a lot of people, whenever to jump back in, basically, whenever a lot of people think of transhumanism, they think of,
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, they think of genetic modification, augmentation,
Mm-hmm.
Hillary Clinton's
Mm-hmm.
body double or clones,
Mm-hmm.
extending human consciousness through synthetic immortality. And to a degree, that they're right. That's definitely what it is. And I know some people will think that that doesn't exist. That designer babies don't exist, that test tube babies don't exist, and synthetic
Well,
biology doesn't exist. But if that was the
back in the 80s we had Dolly. Dolly was a clone.
yep, Dolly the sheep.
Dolly the sheep. We had, what was her name? I can't even think of her name. Back in the 80s, I think she was a baby that was the petri dish baby. Um, and that was just what we were told about. They've been perfecting this since 1950, since World War II, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's not experimental stages anymore. This is they've perfected this. There's reports that in Russia there are cloning facilities throughout the world. There's three major ones: one in California, one in Russia, and one in China.
Yep.
These facilities, I can only speak of the one in Russia because that's the only one I've really researched, which is kind of weird because I think I would have researched the one here in California. But the one in Russia, they can pump out a completed human clone, complete with memories of that person, the original person, in less than 48 hours. So when you see public figures disappearing for 2, 3, 4 days, you
Britney
got to ask
Spears.
yourself, what's going on?
Britney Spears and Gucci clone. We actually
Yep.
didn't we? I'm pretty sure we actually had an episode where we talked about that, as where we talked about Gucci clone and artificial life. Oh no, we talked about Kanye and how he released
Kanye.
the
Yep.
video of
Yeah, the clones. The
yep,
clones. Yep.
and
Yeah.
that's
So I
definitely
mean,
going on.
it is. It's definitely going on. It's happening. Um, you have these I say well-known figures, icons that are like the rapper Bob. And he's putting it out there. Stop the
Mm-hmm.
cloning facilities. You know, what's his name? Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris. Paris, right after a couple years after Michael Jackson died, she supposedly, the press wants you to think that she had a nervous breakdown. She didn't. She started putting all kinds of information out: how her father was killed, how there was cloning, how all this modification is going on. And what did they do? They silenced her. They put her away in a mental institution for I don't even know how long, because she dropped out of sight. She's not even around. We don't even hear about her anymore. So there's people out there that are trying to put the information out there. And it's real. It's true. I mean, it sounds, sometimes the truth sounds so far fetched that you would rather believe the lies.
Mm-hmm. And that, unfortunately, that's what I've come to the conclusion with people as well. Whenever they come onto my page or whenever they comment on the videos saying, "Oh, you're a liar," or "Oh, this is fake," or "Oh, this is misinformation," I've realized all I'm dealing with is their doubt. Like, are you saying these things to convince
You're
me?
dealing with their cognitive dissonance. I mean, the cognitive dissonance is 100% truth. It's fact. You're messing with their reality, and it's scary.
Well, like you said, Lori, this is only I've only known you for almost a year, and this is I'm going on year 2 trying to pull all of this together. This is only like 2 years of just like trying to make this stuff that sounds legitimately insane, making it sound legible. And if this is the result I'm getting, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I'm not trying to convince other people. I'm not as
We can't. It's not our responsibility to convince people. It's our responsibility to plant those seeds.
yes.
And those seeds, when we spread those seeds, they can either go on fertile land, they can end up in the water, they can end up in the weeds. It depends on where they land. It's not up to us to cultivate them. That's up to them. That's up to the person that you're revealing that information to cultivate that information. If they go on to research it for themselves, like we tell them to, we challenge them to, that seed will take growth. It will. It truly will. But it's up to that person. We can lead a horse to water, but it's not our responsibility to get them to drink it.
I definitely agree. And at the speaking of which, if you guys want trailed off information, because at the start of the show, me and Lori were talking about how action packed I thought this episode was going to be, and how for me this episode, because I haven't been delving as much into transhumanism with my work, this is a compound episode, and you guys can actually go back and look
Mm-hmm.
at some of the other work that I have. I put it in the description bar. You can look at my video, Catching Trends with Hybrid Humanity, the Crisis Corner with the Humanoid Reality, and the Crisis Corner with the Genetic Gap, where basically, everything we're talking about here I break down in so many different ways. This video, what we're listening to right now, is a culmination of my work so far, of me putting together all of these notes to try to again make it sound legible instead of me
Right.
ranting.
Well, you know what, EJ, I'm glad that you're doing this because I want to address something that has been it's been an issue. Um, Day before yesterday, a person that you know and I know, and I'm not going to mention any names, but he has a news page, put out a video, and he was talking about transhumanism, and he's big on the whole um, Skynet. I don't know if that does that lead you anywheres. Does that lead you into a direction of who I'm speaking about?
Not at the moment.
He's okay. He's big on the transhumanism. He's big on Skynet being real, which it is. Okay, but he put out a video day before yesterday that I was very disappointed in, and he was stating that he felt that the Antichrist was going to be a machine, and you know. With knowledge comes great power, and this man is very knowledgeable, and he has a very large following on both Facebook and YouTube. And um, I had to jump into the live feed and with a comment, and I had to remind him that because he's not saved, he doesn't have any real biblical knowledge. He's a Catholic, but I won't hold that against him. But yeah, but I had to remind him that in the book of Revelation, it says that the Antichrist will be a man. It says that number of that man. It doesn't say anything about a machine. It does talk about in the book of Daniel. It does talk about the melting of the iron and the clay, but that is only having to do with the empire, the ruling empire at that time, which I think is classic with our technology that we have today. But a lot of people are mistaking this transhumanism with some sort of mark of the beast. I believe it's beast technology. I don't think it's
Yes.
a mark of the beast per se.
Yes.
And we're seeing this, through the technology. People need to realize that when they talk about the mark of the beast, the mark is something that has to be taken willingly. It cannot be forced upon you. It cannot be slipped into your vaccines. It cannot be slipped into your water. It cannot be slipped into your food. It is something that you have to willingly take, because at the same time you have to renounce your faith, and you have to put down your faith in Yahushua, the Son of God. You have to renounce that, and then you have to follow, and you have to kneel before the Antichrist. So to say that the chip, the RFID chip, is the mark of the beast or anything else, unless you willingly take that, and at the same time renounce your faith, then it's not the mark of the beast. Is it beast technology? Absolutely. All of this stuff is beast technology because it's bringing forth a new world order.
Yep. Yep. I know who you're talking about, though. It clicked, and I won't say their name because I'm actually a huge fan of their work, but I definitely know what you're saying.
I am too. I am too. I am too. But then at the same time, you've got to remember that truth is stranger than fiction.
I think, and I'm glad that you made that distinction between the actual mark of the beast and beast technology, because what we're talking about now is beast technology. We have not been talking about the beast. We're talking about beast technology and how that plays into what I would eventually consider the dehumanization and depopulation campaign, the corrupting of the face of God, the corrupting of the image of God, to where eventually, we'll breed out ourselves if we continue down this line through epigenetic factors, all kinds of different mutations, permutations, and all the other things that are going on with our genetics. If we look at it through that lens, to where if we keep messing around, there's no coming back from this. Eventually we're gonna breed out what is human. So whether or not that is the mark of the beast, because that, like I said, that's a whole nother discussion. I don't think that's it, but I think because of the anti-human capabilities of the transhumanist technology, I feel like that would be considered mark of the beast technology.
Right, technology, exactly. Now, further on, will that lead to, other things? Absolutely. Like I said earlier, they're going to make us they're going to make us beg for this technology. They're going to make us beg for this, this mark. Um, what better way than to lead somebody to a FEMA camp than by, attacking the grid, by, implementing, martial law, and there are transhuman soldiers out there that are ready to go with this new world order. So,
Boom.
what better way to get us to go into these FEMA camps than to cause the problem, cause the reaction. The reaction that they want is fear and desperation, and then provide the solution. So if you look at it on those three things, the problem, reaction, solution. Problem being no water, no electricity, no food, dead of winter. Okay. Reaction, fear, desperation, hunger, thirst. Okay. You know, and then the reaction or the solution is what would it be, the FEMA camps.
Yep.
So you've got to get into their heads, and you've got to think about it that way. And what better source of policing a people than to use these transhuman soldiers who can withstand no electricity, dead of winter, no food, no water, no sleep, you know, um, because the average soldier can't put up with that. They can't endure that for very long. But transhuman soldiers, absolutely they can. Just listen to Russ Ditzler. He
He
talks about the Black Awakening.
does. He talks about demonic protection and how
Yep.
I feel like someone the other day was talking about how, how there's divine protection, how Hillary Clinton is demonically protected right now, and the way they had explained it, it was just so on point. You know,
Did you hear the video? Did you hear the interview Bill Clinton just did?
no,
He said his wife is tired. She's been working like a demon.
of course she's a demon.
Yeah, that's what he said. He says she's been exhausted. She's been working like a demon.
Hmm.
I was like, wow, if that wasn't a slip of the tongue, well, I don't know what was.
I feel like they
Yeah.
literally can't help themselves. You know,
No, they can't help themselves. They can't. They can't. They are so into themselves and so narcissistic that they want us to know because, again, let's go back to something that we know for sure. We know that they're required under Kabbalistic law, under Kabbalistic beliefs, that they have to foretell us. They have to tell us
yep,
in advance what they're going to do to us. And that's twofold. That is to cause a reaction out of us, which is fear, panic, worry, stress, and they feed off of those emotions. They do, because we put those feelings out into the world. We put them out there,
real quick.
and they feed off of those. And the second one is that they believe that if they tell us and then they carry through those plans, they don't have to worry about karma.
There was you had mentioned earlier super soldiers, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of want
Russ
to
Ditzler.
yeah I want to jump back to that real quick. There was an article up just now, and it was how the Pentagon's defense research arm was putting money into genome editing, and what that article went into later on to talk about from Gizmodo was about the Foundry and how it's an MIT Harvard joint medical program that's DARPA sponsored since 2013, and they've gotten $32 million, and the whole idea behind that, the whole idea that they're basically doing is they say they're assembling genetic systems, but with $32 million, clearly they're trying to make the next Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, like
Mm-hmm.
with the Foundry, things like the Higgston Group, the Valencia Institute in Spain, the Nanjing
Mm-hmm.
University in China, the cloning facility that you were talking about before earlier. All of these different places, they all practice genetic modification, and
Absolutely, they do.
and if
And
you
if you guys think that it's just confined to animals or plants or whatever, you're so mistaken. Just because they made it illegal to clone a human being doesn't mean that they're not doing it. Look up Clonate. Clonate, Cloneaid, I believe it is, .com. And you will see that in the Bahamas, there is a company for the right amount of money. We went over this that night on our cloning show, EJ.
Mm-hmm.
There is a company that will, for the right amount of money, clone a human being. It's not illegal in all countries. It's only illegal in the United States.
Well, it's
So
like,
if you don't think this is going on,
well, ironically enough, isn't the Clonate is in Brazil, right? And then they tell us
it's in the
all
Bahamas.
in the
It's
Bahamas.
in the Bahamas.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say if it was in Brazil, what book are they always telling? What book are we always telling people to read, or what movie are we always telling people to go watch? The Boys from Brazil.
The Brazil voice from Brazil,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It,
Voice from Brazil.
and all of this still, and this is what I hope we got across to people. All of this still points back to the Nazis, to post World War
Yep,
II frame, to the time
absolutely
frame,
does.
to either George Mengele, to Werner von Braun, to Hitler escaping, to any of the members of the Thule Society that were still remaining. All of this
Yeah, I
points,
just want to say that the Nuremberg trials, they were just for show, guys. Those they were just for show. They none of the real movers and shakers of that time were brought to trial.
right? It was, yeah, no way. That was all. That was a
Mm-mm.
dog and pony show. They had to tote
It
people out
was
like they were in
it
trouble.
was it was it completely. It pacified those people of that era, and they just moved on. And here's to say is the people that were even supposedly sentenced to death, were they even sentenced to death, or were they put on a boat and sent over to Argentina along with the rest of them, or brought over here?
We're given new
It was
identities.
just exactly, they're giving new identities. It was just one big show for the world at that moment.
So what we have to understand whenever we look back at all of that information, understanding how the Third Reich came into power, what their basically what their overall agenda was, and how they succeeded to some degree and are still succeeding these days. We have to realize that this technology, the things that are coming out these days, Tesla's research, uh,
Mm,
TR3Bs, anti-gravitic technology, all of these different things, they have Nazi origin, which was occult
yeah,
inspired, and we
exactly.
and we're now using them on a wide scale basis for what I would consider, a nefarious purpose. Like with Tesla's whole energy tower. I mean, why do we have Gwyn towers instead? Why do we have ELF towers instead? If we can wirelessly power, so many different things with the technology, why are we using this kind of technology to basically, control us, to mind control us? And that's what it
Right.
is there with this specific time frame that we're in, because so many different people are waking up and we're seeing things in so many different ways. They're trying to use this advanced technology to just do
Right.
that, to alter the human DNA, to alter how we interact, to how we send out frequencies for this universe. And that ultimately does affect how we interact with ourselves here on this planet in this time frame,
And each other, how we
and each
interact with
other.
each other.
Yeah, and that's why whenever people tell me that they hate people, I really can't say that and agree with them, because I get it, but
Yeah.
I really do see like how much good one individual person can do. And I just see that that person hasn't seen someone that they can believe in, or they haven't had a good example today, or something along those lines. I
Or, you just get tired of people. you
True, yeah,
know,
that too.
you know. I'm sorry. Sometimes you just, as much as I try, as much duct tape as I buy, as much zip ties as I have, I just can't fix stupid. I'm trying.
But what was it? I was reading the other day. I think it was Newton or some physicist, where he was like, I can charter the planets and the heavens and the rotations of the stars, but one thing I can't fathom is human ignorance. I was like, oh my god,
Oh,
oh,
snap.
he just dissed us with astronomy. Oh my god,
he just did
oh
this.
my god,
He
that was
just did this with logic. Oh, yeah.
it was
Oh, yeah.
it was
But,
superb.
here's the thing. that is, I think I'm going to have to use that because it's awesome. But here's the thing: is we've got so much in the technology, and if you go back, guys, it don't don't keep letting society as it is today dictate your intelligence. At this point in time, ignorance is a choice.
Yeah.
It is a choice. I say this all the time. Robbie says it. EJ says it. We all are telling you this. Do not believe a word we say. Do your due diligence. Get off Facebook. Give yourself 15 minutes. Here's what I always tell people, and I think maybe you might have seen it over on Exposing Satanic World Government, because about every 6 months I get fed up with people and I put this challenge out there and I tell them, if anything I'm posting, if you think I'm wrong, I want to challenge you to go do your due diligence, do your research, come back at me with counter research. And we will debate this like human beings. We will debate this like brothers and sisters, like the way we're supposed to do this. Okay? Don't come at me with Snoops. Don't come at me with Wikipedia. Don't come at me, don't come at me with your feelings. I want solid proof because I provide that to you. I expect that in return. And if I'm wrong, I will do a retraction. I will never post on that topic again. I've put this out there many, 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 many times. And unfortunately, that still doesn't motivate people to get off their butts. I'm sorry, when I disagree with something, when I see something and I'm like, oh, there's something wrong. Nope. There it goes. I go get my notebook, I get my pen, and I'm looking, and I'm debunk. And there's been a lot of things I've set out there to debunk, EJ, that I've now come to embrace.
With this stuff, I understand it can definitely be heady. I can understand, it would take a lot for somebody to say, hey, I agree. I have been mind controlled, I have been brainwashed, and I have been socially conditioned to think a certain way. But a lot of people don't. Yeah. Some people don't want to do that. Some people don't want to say, hey, I was wrong. And those people are probably single and don't have someone that loves them.
Those people have probably never been married.
Yeah, those people have probably never been married. They've probably never been in a situation to where they've had to humble themselves. And,
right. Humility.
And for that reason, that's probably why we're not following them.
Right. Humility. It's hard to be humble. It truly is hard to be humble. I think that's probably, and I always say that humility, or the lack of humility, I should say, the lack of humility is probably the number one thing standing in between people and their and salvation. Because it takes a humble person to admit that they need a power stronger than them. You guys don't know everything. I don't know everything. EJ doesn't know everything, and we've never claimed to know everything. There's only one omnipotent being in this universe, and I come nowhere close to him. But I do have the ability to research and to come to my own conclusions on everything: transhumanism, clones, CERN, even the Bible. Just put your pride aside. Give yourselves even 15 minutes a day. Set out, say, Lori mentioned this, EJ mentioned this. I'm going to try to debunk them, because I think that's a better motivator, is trying to set out and prove somebody wrong. I think that's a really good motivator.
Because then it's like an intellectual argument instead of just like a piss party.
Yeah.
I
don't ever like bring feelings into it. People come to me all the time. You're wrong. You're so wrong on this. I'm like, why? Well, because, and it's all, everything they give me is feelings. I'm like, so you feel I'm wrong? Yeah, I feel you're wrong. Well, I'm sorry, that's not an argument.
Doesn't work. I appreciate it whenever people disagree with me, because then it forces me in some way, shape, or form to readjust my faith in what I'm saying, to readjust what it is I'm trying to get across, and to basically refine my point. But if people don't come at me with, the mental maturity that I've given them, then I don't feel like, it's respectful.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a few years ago, there was a page on Facebook that was going around posting You're hurting my feelings. My feelings are hurt. And I used to cringe every time I did it because I don't like the person that runs the page that does it anyways. But that aside, I would see that and I would cringe. I'd be like, ugh. Now I've gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, did I hurt your feelings? Did I hurt my feelings? So yeah, don't bring your feelings into it. Leave your feelings at the door. Give me something intellectual and something that I can put my teeth into. On a debate level, a adult intellectual level. I'm not going to bring my feelings into it. Don't bring your feelings into it. But I got to tell you something, EJ. It's taken me a long time to come to that, to be able to do that.
It's even I know that feel because my the fiance tells me, and I even have my followers and friends drop me a line and say, "Hey, man, you should not be arguing with this guy. Like you're looking like an asshole. If you want the truth, you should stop." And it's because I get locked in. They get me.
Yeah,
I get upset,
I
and I get
I'm
brought
the
down to
same
their
way.
level, and it doesn't look good. It just
I'm the
doesn't look
same way.
good.
I'm the same way, and it does. It's taken me a long time to grow that thick skin. Now it just rolls off my back. I mean, there's still things going on today that people are still, saying things, doing things, putting information out there about me. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care. There are 3 or 4, 10, 15, 20, 100 people that are believing them are just a drop in the bucket compared to the number of people that I have contact with every day.
And I definitely appreciate the quality
You
of
know,
people that we come into contact these days.
I do. I do too. I do too, and it's growing every day. It's growing. I mean, you know, uh, just getting back to this whole transhumanism thing. The number of people that I am in contact with. I've interviewed Nicholas in 1968. I've interviewed Fritz Springmeier. And I've interviewed people on that level and that magnitude of the knowledge that they have.
Hmm.
And we're not the only ones putting this information out there. I never claimed that this was my information. I never claimed to. I don't sit in my room and say, "Eureka! I found new truth." No, I've never claimed that. And I give credit to where credit is due. If you want information on transhumanism, go to the people that are putting the most information out there, the most accurate information out there. If I have a problem with my telephone, I sure the heck don't go to an ice cream shop and say, "Hey, can you guys fix my phone?"
Yeah, it
You know,
doesn't work like that.
yeah, I don't go to a Chinese restaurant and order a steak. And you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you want the information, you go to the source. You go to the person who at that time is putting out the most accurate information. You know. And as far as transhumanism at this moment, I think you're doing a fantastic job. I'm so proud of you on the information you're putting out there because you have your finger, your thumb on exactly what's happening at this moment in time.
Well, that's what I was going to start. I have to build a separate Google account because what I'm going to start doing is all of the slides and the videos that people are seeing right now on the left and right of the screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Man, that's old information. Like I said, this is stuff that I'm sitting on. What I'm going to start doing is compressing basically all of these files and then just putting it up there for people to download after the show so they can get literal, basically truth information knowledge bombs that they can open up, extract to their folder, and then look at because I know, some people are probably not going to be able to read these headlines, while they're passing. But I'm sure people want to know, like, where can they see this type of information, and when was this put up? Like, how old is this? And that's why I'm constantly trying to, like I said, update my information, compound on what we do know, and push it forward because
Mm-hmm.
that's it's. I guess that's what I know. I don't know what else to do.
Right. I think that's a very good idea. I keep telling people that they need to create. Um, like I've been thinking about it a lot too. Like exposing satanic world government, we put out a lot of different information. We put out lots of. It's not the same thing.
I love it.
And so when people come there, they get this almost like a visual or sensory attack, so to speak, when you come onto our page. But I think creating pages with with topic specific, that are topic specific, I think is the key to reaching more people at this point. Kind of like your one-shop stop.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know about transhumanism, where would you go? Like I said, if there's something wrong with your phone, you're not going to take it to the pizza place. So if I want to know about transhumanism, I'm not going to go to a page that specializes in auto mechanics. Does
Right.
that make sense?
No, it totally does. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I had intended for this whole program. Or I mean, well, not this program, for the project, is to reach out to people like Exposing Satanic World Government, Nicholson 1968, Vrillix, yeah, Ron Johnson, Steve Quayle, like to reach out to all of these people and just be like, can you explain to us what's going on? Can you help? And there's so much information out there these days that you really do get lost. I myself obviously get caught up working, and it's a lot for any person to do. That's why, like you said, people do have to branch out. They have to start. They have to start their own. If they want to know what's really going on, they
Right.
have to give us their
Exactly.
perspective.
Exactly. And this goes for the people in the chat room too. And all, let me just put it out there, present company excluded, because we've got some really good chatters in the chat room tonight. Love to you guys. We see a lot of familiar faces in there. And but so present company excluded, but you have these people that come into your chat rooms and they just start, blasting you. You don't know what you're talking about. You're this, you're that, boom, boom, boom. Here's the thing. Get off your butt, get your own channel and start putting out your own videos.
Right.
Do something.
Right.
Do something. Even if 5 people only watch your videos, at least you're affecting 5 other people.
It's
Who
like
in turn are affecting other people, who in turn are affecting, you have that ripple effect again.
it's like you because I had put up a video the other day of this alien.
No, you don't put up videos.
Hey, I try to be cool.
You do. You put up some kicking videos, let me tell you, my friend.
I put up this video of this alien running in some Mexican parking lot, right? And
Uh,
I've been telling people I want to kind of bridge into the paranormal with all the information that I'm starting to cover, and
I have just.
I've had so many people, like, in a short amount of time, like, after putting that up, say, "Oh man, like, I can't believe you would do this. Like, clearly this is disinformation, man. Like, oh dude, why would you do this? Like, I can't believe," just talking smack. And I'm like, so because
Here's the thing: is we don't have one specialty that we specialize in. We like to
yeah,
go into. Well, if I turn on the news and if I see, oh, the flavor of the day is this, then maybe I need to start talking about that flavor of the day. So yeah, there's a lot of talk about there, and I think we're seeing an influx in this whole quote unquote alien sightings and UFO sightings, because we've got that alien disclosure coming. So they're preparing us. So yeah, we have to talk about this, people. We've got to. We can't just bury our head in the sand and say, and that. But here's the same thing, EJ. These same people that are saying that to you are going to hold you responsible for them not knowing about it when it happens.
yeah, that psychosis, I have still not figured out how that works. I still have yet to figure out, like, how I get in trouble for posting something that they
Uh,
should have known about, but however they didn't hear about it on my page, because I'm still trying to figure out how
because
all
I'm
that
not
works.
allowed to talk about that on my page.
Right? Like, that whole that is a whole nother situation. That's
I know.
ooh.
Honey, I can get in trouble. I can be I can be on the road, post 3 things in 2 weeks and still get in trouble for something. Trust me on that. It's just a gift we have.
Yeah, well, it's like what I had to end up rebroadcasting that one episode we did nearly 3 to 4 times, Lori, because of just like the troubles YouTube was giving me.
Yeah, yeah,
I just couldn't do it. Um, uh,
yeah. I know.
Closing thoughts. What do you want to say? To close it out.
I just want to tell people to do your own due diligence. I think one of the most intriguing topics I ever looked at was the esoteric occultic, Gnostic beliefs and whole whole belief system of the Nazis. You know, if you guys want some interesting reading, I suggest that you guys start with there. It will give you a broader understanding of exactly what is happening and transpiring in this world today. If you go back to the Nazis and you look at, go back further than paperclip. I'm talking about go and look at what Hitler believed. I mean, he had an occultic, he had an occult shaman, and he had all of those people surrounding him on a daily basis, and they did nothing. They didn't even move their troops without first consulting on an occultic level. Go and look at that. Go look at the experiments they were doing. Go look at the Nazi bell. Research that. That was supposedly a time machine. And go back and look at that, because in order for us to know the present, we need to understand the past. So, yeah, just look at it. Transhumanism is real. Okay, we're seeing it more and more every day. Google's putting out, you know, these what do I want to say, gadgets for us to just to fall in love with. You know, it's something else, and they make it look so good. They make it look like it's helping us. It's such a help for humanity. You know, look at, you guys don't even have to get up and you guys don't even have to get up and turn your lights on. All you got to do is think it, and the lights will go on or off. You can interact with your computer just by your thoughts. You know, that's scary. I'm sorry. I want to be in control of my thoughts. I don't want some computer going on the fritz or getting a virus and taking over. I'm going to end up like freaking Hillary Clinton and all freaking spazzing out and coughing and shit.
Having a brain fart.
Right. Exactly.
Didn't you say?
Can I take a minute to plug a future show?
Please do.
Okay. I just got confirmation today that not this Sunday, but next Sunday on August 25th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Underground Resistance Movement the Underground Resistance Network, I'm sorry, is going to welcome to the show Mr. Douglas Dietrich. Mr. Dietrich, he's an ex-CIA, ex-Department of Defense who worked with Michael Aquino. We know who Michael Aquino was. He was a psychological warfare specialist in the U.S. Army from 1968 to 1990, and he was the founder of the Temple of Set in 1975. So Douglas is going to join us not a week from this Sunday, the 25th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So stay tuned. We're going to be getting our promos up for that show. Cannot wait. We're also going to be welcoming back Zachary K. Hubbard, who's going to be talking to us about the gematria of NASCAR and professional sports. We've got that coming up, and we've got a couple other surprise guests coming on the show in the next couple weeks. So we're going to be pretty busy over there.
That's good, though. That's good. I can't wait to listen.
It is. It is. Yeah.
So where can people find any more of your awesome work outside cool YouTube?
You can find me at Exposing Satanic World Government on Facebook. You can find me at the Vaccine Resistance Movement page on Facebook. You can also find me at the Sentinels of Truth. It's a new group we just started. You can find me on Sundays, Mondays, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Spitfire and the Sentinel Show. Also Wednesday afternoons. He's been broadcasting. You can find me over there. And you can find me right here on Factions of Freedom when I'm invited over.
It's true. You can.
Yes.
And I do like having her over. So
I like coming.
I'm gonna call this
Tacos
episode.
And tequila now.
Yeah, Laura, we have to end the episode first, then we get the tequila and tacos.
Oh, that's fine. That's the right answer. Okay. Everybody in the chat room, I want to thank everybody in the chat room. You guys are awesome. I love each and every one of you guys. I love interacting with you. I like talking with you. I like reading your comments, because I do throughout the show. I pop in and I read your comments. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Thank you so much.
I do too. I definitely appreciate you guys coming over from Lori's channel and checking out, how we do things over here on Factions of Freedom. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you're not already subscribed to this channel, I suggest you guys subscribe, or I'm going to be mad. Don't bother coming back over if you guys don't subscribe here. I'm just kidding, guys. No, show EJ some love, because this is definitely a channel that we want to be supporting and showing much, much love.
I don't think I could say anything else, but on that note, I'm going to say thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below. As always,
Awesome.
guys, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noisera, Freedom Faction, Lori Alexander, out.
Bye.